Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to season 3 of Ubrik Show. We did 2 seasons in the past 2 years, and for a change, for the first time, we're actually getting a guest on the show. So first of all, I'd like to invite Marilyn. Hey Marilyn, welcome to the Ubrik Show. What's up?
Hi, I'm so excited to be your first guest.
Yeah, so how are you doing?
Well, I'm really hopeful I don't disappoint your audience. Hopefully I can bring some value today.
And how's things? How's life?
Grand. It's been quite the year for me. I just became a mom to a 2.5-month-old. We were in Montreal for the summer, so we also just came back home to Dubai. I'm very excited to be in Dubai despite the heat. I love the energy of this place. It's really nice to see people moving and doing things, and I've only been here 10 days and already it's been like super exciting.
Yeah, I think this time after this holiday is finished, there's this energy in Dubai which every year you have, but it's like into 10 this time.
Yeah.
Everybody is moving.
Completely. Especially seeing the state of the world, you know, everywhere in Europe and North America, like we've seen so many like really bad management, right? Of airports, of flights, of whatever, of healthcare systems. And being in Dubai feels like such a blessing that I think everybody's coming home with like lots of happiness.
I mean, one of my team members, Ashwin, he went for his PR. And the first week he was like, Canada is amazing. Everything is good. He was supposed to stay for like 4 or 5 months, 3rd month. And the funny thing is, I didn't even know. Suddenly he messaged me on WhatsApp, bro, I'm back in Dubai.
Oh my goodness.
Then he says, you know what? If you live in Dubai, it's difficult to live anywhere else. I'm like, every place has something to offer, but
for sure.
Dubai has it all together. And like you said, the way they manage things here. And anyway, so, let's jump into the topic today.
Let's do it.
So, me and Marilyn, we got connected, I think, 1.5 years back during the pandemic when we were all on LinkedIn. And one of the areas for the past couple of years I've been trying to do at Ubrik, some of the things is I always try to work on the culture, on the team. I try, yeah. And all this while you see people, the kind of content I used to watch, it was on YouTube, somebody in somewhere else. And the first time when I saw your video, I'm like, somebody based in Dubai is talking about all these things. It's super exciting.
Yeah.
And that is how I started enrolling to your Centaur stage, those events. And that's how we got connected. And over this past few months, we've, had a lot of discussions. And I honestly feel, and I believe Marilyn is one of those people who is in the long run, like is in for the long game. Okay, I think what you're trying to do, I'm sure you're finding success, but I think you will find even more success because this is like a marathon, 100%.
Yeah, it's not a sprint.
Yeah, it's not a sprint because there is still a lot of people, there is a big mindset shift that needs to come. So instead of building all this suspense now, I want to hear it from Marilyn. So Marilyn, tell us, what do you do?
All right. So I'm the CEO and founder. I love saying CEO, but there's only 6 of us. But anyways, I'm the CEO and founder of a company called Cosmic Centaurs. And I started this company in April of 2020. It's not a coincidence. Before that, I was working as the CEO of Dubai Opera. And then, of course, the opera shut down with the pandemic and I was let go. And after about 3 days at home, I wanted to kill everybody. And I thought, what a great moment to start a company. No one's going to blame me if I fail because it's the pandemic. It was that moment. I had to do it. And so I went back and thought about what has been something that I've always cared about, something I've wanted to wake up for in the morning. And throughout all my roles in life, be they, employment, but also being part of teams, dance classes, whatever it was, I think what I've always found beautiful is when humans truly are able to collaborate at scale, because that's how we move mountains, that's how we build the pyramids. And so I said, okay, great. I want to help people collaborate. But it was the beginning of the pandemic. And so I thought, well, what do people need? What's getting in their way? Mm-hmm. And of course, remote work was the first thing that came up. So I started off the company helping teams transition to fully remote setups. But also with this idea that that's just, one problem. I wanted to help companies bring more flexibility and agility, and I'm not ashamed to say happiness into their workspace. And so what we do today is we advise leaders on how to redesign work inside their organization. I know that's like a big term, and it is, and we like to do complex things, I'm not going to tell you, we just work on purpose or values or culture. We're a bit holistic in our approach, which is to say, how do you think about the way you present work to your employees? What does your environment look like? And then we've developed our own framework called the Omnichannel organization, which says in the same way that you design experiences for customers, right? Like we've been doing this. I come from the marketing side, so I spent my life doing CX. We have design thinking, we have methodologies and tools that we use to design amazing customer experiences. But for the longest time, very few companies really cared about doing the same thing for their employees. Mm-hmm. So what we do is we say, let's do what we do for our customers. Map your touch points. How do employees engage with your company? And then decide how you want to improve them. And then use those tools that are available to you from the customer side, apply them to the employee side, and see what happens, and then try to iterate on your employee experience so that you get it somewhere.
I think that's a good summary. And, now that you've told us what you do and what Cosmic Centaur does, this is what the topic today that I wanted to touch upon is the future of work.
Yeah.
Now, you've already given a background of what you do. Mm-hmm. Now, you've been in this space for like good 2.5 years.
Yep.
Yeah. How would you say, where is work heading towards? Like, the state of work, for example. Like recently, I remember seeing this study. I'm sure it was you who shared it or somebody else. I mean, all of this content usually I see from your LinkedIn feed. About the top 3 reasons people, there are 10 reasons,
right,
but the top 3 reasons why people are quitting. Yeah, I don't know the order, but one of them was obviously the financial side of it. Second was stagnant growth.
Yeah.
And a very interesting thing I found was non-inspiring leaders.
Yeah.
Okay. What do you have to say about this?
I say that so first of all, I'll say, I was the first person to jump on the future of work trend.
Okay.
But I'm also, in some sense, a historian. Okay. In the sense that I like to look at the past, mm-hmm, to learn from it, because I rarely think that we are experiencing something for the first time. Mm-hmm. And I don't think we're the first people to think about it. And in fact, a lot of the stuff we're seeing today in the future of work has been predicted in science fiction. I don't know if you've ever watched Space Odyssey, but like it has Zoom, it has remote teams, it has global collaboration. All the pandemic stuff, has been predicted as well. But also the way we work today is not new. Some of us have been working this way for 30 years now. So there's a lot to learn from the past. And then there's a lot to think about what the future will look like. And I think we can't bundle work all at once, right? Because a lot of what we see in the news today is around knowledge work. But manufacturing, but hospitality, but a lot of other industries aren't affected in exactly the same way. So I also think it's very important to compartmentalize what we're hearing. But as far as knowledge work goes, yes, I think we're seeing the solidification of trends that have started as the world became global, right? Now, obviously reinforced by great internet, by better practices, by great software and technology that can help us to do all of these things. But it had already been the case that we're hiring globally, that we're collaborating across time zones and cultures and locations. But also that the way that we do knowledge work is going to evolve because AI is getting in the game. Yeah. Great technology is replacing some of the low-level tasks that humans do today. And so... And
it's even doing a better job than humans in
yes,
some
did you
areas.
see the art piece that won an award this week? Everybody was up in arms about it. We've seen copywriting AI. It's pretty incredible.
They're using some of it. Yeah.
Well, there you go. But what that means is that there's a bigger focus on, hopefully on human creativity, on our emotions, on things that we're uniquely positioned to use in order to create value. So that's where I hope the future of work is going. Of course, we can talk about tactics. I think people talk a lot about, remote versus not, or this versus that.
Sorry to stop you, but I just, the kind of audience, some of the audience we have in the show, like you are somebody or I'm somebody, I believe I consume a lot of this content. I'm in line with you, yeah?
All right. Let's break it down.
Yeah, let's take 2 steps back. When I say future of work, yeah? Now, I'm like some of the listeners we have, these are say 50 plus general managers or head of businesses. Few of them, not all of them. For them, they are seeing all of these things. They come from an era where 50 years or 40 years of their lifetime, they've built companies, businesses, 100, 200 million portfolios, where they saw people in the office in front of them, even knowledge workers.
Yep.
Okay. For them, what is future? What is the future of work going to be? How the same company? Yeah.
I'm going to tell them something reassuring. I'm going to say that your whole life, if you've been a successful business person, you've looked at how your business strategy was going to evolve, and then you've hired the right people and put them to work in the right way so that they could deliver on the business strategy. You still have to do the same thing, except today you have a choice to hire people somewhere new. You have a choice to change the way you establish your processes so that you integrate diverging perspectives, more accessible workforce at a better rate, right? You can hire from anywhere in the world. Think of it like a business person. I'm all about employee engagement. And if you hear me talk for long enough, you'll think like I'm a hippie. Oh, this girl's always talking about like the human connection and loving each other and team building and all that stuff. But if you're a business person, this isn't just fluff. Yeah. This is about you have new ingredients today that allow you to have a stronger business, a better top line and a better bottom line, right? We're not here to talk about fluff. We're here to talk about how do you deliver better on your business. If you think of it this way, you stop being overwhelmed with all these discussions, right? And you say, yeah, can my business get better if I hire talent in Vietnam? Maybe. Okay, now you can do it more easily, more accessibly. There are a lot of companies and tools that can help you to do that. Great. Why don't you use that? Will my business get better if I don't do that and I hire in an expensive city like Dubai, but I supercharge my team and I make them incredibly collaborative, new processes, best friends, all of these things we know, there's data to show they improve both your top and bottom line. And that's what I want you as a business person to think about.
And, the episode that we recorded right before this, which will come officially, will air after this episode, we are talking about revenue operations, RevOps.
Okay.
It's very interesting that in that whole discussion, we were talking about sales, marketing, customer service. But this element that you mentioned, right, of using the same technology towards your employees as well. This is where I want to go into now. Like, we spoke about, you mentioned about customer experience and the employee experience.
Right.
Can you give me, in a nutshell, customer experience we all know. There are some companies that are designing for employee experience. And how is it different from this human experience that you're talking about, this omnichannel human experience?
Look, again, that's the idea, right? Is that the reason we call it omnichannel human experience is we're saying the same way you do it for your customer. You want to go and map out where your employees engage with your company, right? Because a lot of time when people say employee experience, they tend to leave it at the, I'm going to say a superficial level, which is, culture and purpose and values.
All on paper.
Not to mention they're all on paper, but also the employee experience isn't just the fluffy stuff. That's what I really want people to understand. It's also, what do our processes look like? What are our KPIs? Like, all of these are part of the experience. So the idea is you go and you map every touch point that your employee has, whether it's your physical office, whether it's the middle management that they have to interact with every day, whether it's your brand, whether it's your internal comms, your technology, your documentation, your org structure. These are all touch points for the employee. And it's the sum of those touch points that create your employee experience. In the same way that on the customer side, it's your packaging, it's your store, it's your e-commerce website, it's your whatever, right? And the sum of those experiences is how your customer views you. And so what we're encouraging people to do is say, don't forget all your touch points. For example, one topic that all companies are, in my opinion, not very good at managing is the middle management. We forget that the only people that will be able to reinforce any strategic decision, orientation, culture, values, they make it or break it. And yet nobody actively, not nobody, but very few companies have successfully actively utilized middle management as a channel for success. We tend to everybody yells at them from the top and everybody hates them from the bottom, right? They're always being bashed. Instead, if you now realize that they are one of the most important touch point in your employee experience, you will completely transform the way you intentionally manage this, right? And of course, it's to bring back humanity into the process. I think sometimes, and we can talk about why that happens, but in larger corporations, but it can also happen in smaller ones. We tend to treat each other like resources. In fact, I hate the word human resources because we're slightly different than a chair, right?
And using this term, when you say, we are resource crunch, we need to add more resources.
Yeah. It's like this isn't wheat,
Exactly what was in my mind. I'm also guilty sometimes. So I actively try and use people, at least. I'm sure there is a better term. But we used to say, we need to add more resources. Every time I'm like, resource? It's like I feel like I'm taking a bag of wheat and just throwing it somewhere.
Exactly.
just to, I have more questions for you, but just to, summarize this. So it's like traditionally people used to think of two sides of the business, okay, which is the employee and, which is the customer experience. But this is, when you're thinking of the omni-channel or the whole human experience, like as a whole.
Yeah.
It's like a wholesome meal rather than just your starters. It's like all three course.
Yeah, and understanding that when you build a company, you're building an ecosystem, right?
Yeah.
There's your employees, there's your customers, there's your suppliers and your partners. There's a lot of human beings that are interacting with each other to make it successful.
Yeah.
You know, the Richard Branson quote is the one that's like the easiest to summarize this. Like, take care of your people, take care of your customers or your company. But that's the idea. And again, the data agrees with that. So companies that are truly being intentional about their employee experience are companies that are witnessing high growth, right? And
there's so much data, like you're saying, to actually prove this, right?
Oh, please call me. I can spend the day giving you statistics. If anyone needs them, you can Google them very easily, but you can also just call me and I'll give you number after number that shows you that it's going to improve your sales. It's going to improve your customer satisfaction. It's going to improve your profitability. Like, call me.
Yeah. So is it okay to say, or is it a bold statement to make, like either you do it, like to the business leaders or people, either you do it like wholeheartedly, or else the situation will come like you have to do this, or else like you get what I'm getting, right? Like,
I get what you're saying.
Like as a leader, either do it like happily, you'll see the growth, or else it'll come to a place that you will not have any option. Because now somebody will ask, how will this thing come? Yeah. I'm from India. The kind of work culture we have, we supply, today morning I saw, India is supplying 20% of the technology workforce of the world. There is a reason a lot of people are leaving India now. Okay. Sometimes it's not just for the salary or the quality of life. It's also the kind of work culture, resource, if there is any word, don't get me wrong. I love country, everything, but the culture, the work culture is not just India. Many Asian countries have this where people are not treated like people.
Yeah, because the hierarchy dimension is very high in those.
Very deep. And coming to a place like Dubai, right, we get the best of many countries, and sometimes you also get the bad stuff from the countries, because we are like a melting pot for cultures. Yeah. So I've actually seen this quite a lot where, when they come here, they actually bring this culture as well. And this ends up affecting, and the reason I was talking about profit, my train of thought is like, I want to talk about this great resignation.
Okay.
Like a lot of people in India, they used to go through this, I know personally, but now they are not putting up with this, especially the millennials.
They're walking away.
They are walking away.
Yeah.
So now, so great resignation is something that I think a lot of us might have seen in the news, and they're reading, what is the great resignation?
Yeah, also I saw a statistic this week about India where it was like 60% of knowledge workers in India are considering quitting their job. 60%, that's every other human. It's pretty nuts. Yeah. Look, the great resignation is the consequence of a pandemic, which probably kind of reprioritized things for people, where maybe they were always upset about things, but now because they faced their own death or the extinction of the humankind or whatever, some kind of woke moment.
They're like, it's not worth it.
They're like, it's not worth it anymore. But the question is, what's not worth it? We've seen a lot of like, oh, people don't want to work anymore, blah, blah, blah. That's not true. People want to wake up and contribute to something meaningful every day, right? And by the way, I just want to caveat this. Maybe I'm going to be a little controversial. Meaningful can be make money.
Yeah. Could be.
Right? So I'm not saying that meaningful has to be like, oh, I want to save the planet.
100%.
Some people want to save the planet and they will go work for a company that does. And some people want to make a lot of money.
That's perfect.
Whatever their motivation is. And they will go for a company that does. It's just that what I think people have been, or leaders have been quite bad at doing, and that has led to the great resignation and to the sense that you don't connect to the purpose of your organization, is they haven't bothered to even make it explicit. It's basic things, but I often talk to leaders and I'm like, so when's the last time you were in a town hall or you did a video or you wrote an email to your people saying like, this is why we wake up every day. That's it. This is why I wake up. You know what? Like, it doesn't have to be you, me as a CEO. This is what brings me to work every day.
I have first-hand experience of this. The last time we spoke in April, 3-4 months, I was quite engaged We were doing a lot of things. And I'm also playing around this idea of who, not how,
Yeah.
which I spoke to you about. So I was like, okay, I've set all of these things in place. I want my middle management, like some people are in the middle. I tried this, but what happened was a lot of these initiatives, when people see you as a leader showing up, that motivation is something else.
Yeah.
And so 3-4 months, there are a lot of initiatives in the team that we used to have, like buddy calls, Monday motivation, weekend catch-ups. All of these rituals kind of started disappearing.
Why?
So that is a different discussion I'll have with you. I mean, some of the things people took up. So I was feeling like, so what I understood was there is a time, according to me, that I have to run with it. And there is, as long as time goes, there will always be some sort of involvement I need to have in these engagements.
Do you get involved in your P&L every week? You do, don't you?
Yeah, 100%.
You know how much
Not
money you have
week.
in the bank
Yeah.
every day?
Yeah, I think more than a week's time on a daily basis.
Do you know which client converted or didn't?
Yeah.
Do you know who's
obviously.
happy or unhappy?
Yeah.
Then why aren't you involved every day?
Thank you, Marilyn.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So for me, it's like as a leader, there are KPIs that you're managing and they tell you about the health of your organization. And we tend to focus a lot on what appears on our P&L or our balance sheet, right? Now, if I tell you that the cost of disengagement in the US is like $350 billion to the economy every year, what do? Now it suddenly shows up on your P&L, right? So if you don't prioritize it, it won't be prioritized. And people don't just look at what leaders say. They look at what leaders spend their time on. It doesn't matter what you say.
Yeah.
They will observe you and they'll be like, did Shayef spend time on
It's
this
just
this
like
week?
having kids,
No.
I think so,
In a sense.
Kids don't listen to, like this is a joke, like, if our kids listen to what we said, they would be the best in the world.
Yeah, they see what you do.
Yeah, they just,
So if a leader doesn't spend time on these things, they are explicitly saying it's not important.
I don't care. That's what it
It's
says.
not important enough for me to make time.
And okay, now jumping from this, I want to jump to the next thing connected to this is, I can see a lot of these, like say edtech startups or all these startups which are unicorns. You can see some of these leaders doing these town halls now.
Sure. Yeah.
People never used to do this before. And I'm talking about some of these, if you all know some of these unicorns, which really, they have a bad rep now, like the way they are conducting business and all this, there are a lot of them.
Yeah.
And one particular that I've been noticing, they have a very notorious reputation of how they let go of people and all this. And don't get any ideas, guys, there are a lot of...
I have big answers for this.
And now you see all of these guys are showing up every month. So, this question of where I want to connect with this is, we were talking about this earlier. There are a lot of these companies, big organizations, be it startups, be it like 50, 100-year-old companies
Sure.
who are big. They do this for the PR.
Yeah.
Like before this whole thing, culture, there is the mental health thing where every company, they have a panel, they have meetings. I was narrating to you the story of somebody who I know is very close to me, works for a MNC. And he says the kind of like double standards or hypocrisy the people actually do. Sorry for these words, but it's madness. What do you have to say about this? Where they sit in the meeting, they have a mental health week. The moment the call is done, people, it's a different story. What have you seen in this, like these double standards?
Look, earlier I said it's the human experience that matters. And so I can sit with you and we can gossip a bit and we can bash the management of those companies for doing that. I like to sometimes be a bit controversial, look at it differently.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I'm a big middle management fan, which is to say that we should sometimes look up to our managers and see them as humans.
Mm-hmm.
When's the last time you asked them how they were doing? Right? And so I definitely agree. Like some people will do this stuff to check something off a list.
Off a box, yeah.
Yeah. Someone said, oh, you should care about mental health and we'll do some trainings. We'll move on with that. So I think that at the leadership level, what needs to be established is the urgency and the importance of the need. And for leaders, and I mean the C-suite, never to settle for superficial stuff. Like someone's in your board meeting showing you, like your head of HR is showing you the initiatives. Ask to speak to someone below.
Yeah.
Go and explore. In design thinking, what do
Yeah.
they tell you when you join an FMCG company? I want you to go sell. Because then you'll understand the customer. Okay.
And the lowest, the person on the bottom of the food chain, actually the kind of
Feedback they have. That's
is-
the one you want.
And if you read a lot of these books, the best leaders,
They go to the front line.
they always do this.
So
This is where all policies built down up,
exactly.
not
So that's a situation where I'm not like, I don't think people don't care or they're incompetent. You know what I mean? Like, I think a leader, a CEO who's running a company with thousands of people, they have to know that they can rely on their own team to give them a transparent view of the world. But I also think that every once in a while, they should go fishing. The same way you do mystery shopping,
Yeah.
right? You do that. Why do you do it? Because you need to check that what you're hearing is real, right? And so that's one thing I'm going to say is like leadership needs to know that this is the tone that they set,
Yeah, I
that
think
they
this is-
should care where it falls. And then I think bottom up, how about some empathy upwards? Right? Like we always love to like bash our managers and their managers and their managers, but we don't create psychological safety for them either. You know, a big topic over the pandemic was psychological safety. Like how do you make sure people feel safe and trusted and
I
that
read
they
the
can
book Fearless
iterate and
Organization.
well, there you go, right? But oftentimes it's only one way. So my word to the leaders is like, take this seriously. And you know what it means to take it seriously because you take it seriously on every other aspect.
Yeah.
And my word to people who feel like their company has this double standard is go ahead and ask. See how people are doing. Apply what you're being asked to upwards. See how that magic gets created. Because everybody also has to be voluntary and willing to give each other a chance. It can't just be a
I
top-down
think I
mandate.
think this is a good perspective. Like give it a chance. At least ask in a way why. You know, you guys say X, but you
and
guys
you
are
don't do it.
doing.
Yeah, have the courage. Don't just go and bash people behind their back.
And end of the day, I think this reflects the way I see it in my experience over these years. At one point, I was working as well. This always reflects on the leadership, I think.
Completely.
Yeah, because sometimes these things are happening. I think not all companies, the leaders know. Like things like this are happening,
I
right?
don't know if they know. Like, I mean, I don't
Or
know how
they
much
decide-
time we have, but have you ever read on like how Nokia like crashed and burned?
Yeah.
You know what happened, right? People were lying at every level
Every
of the
level.
hierarchy.
And many companies.
Now, why were they lying? Because leadership had an approach to failure that was aggressive. Fine. But it was a two-way problem. They didn't allow failure, and therefore people lied at every level of the hierarchy. So the CEO didn't know.
Basically,
Surprising?
Yeah, he kind of he set things up in a way that nobody would say the truth to him. Yeah.
Exactly, but then nobody did say the truth to him. So that's where I'm saying it's a two-way street, right? Like leadership has to set the tone about what's important to them, but that also means that everybody contributes. If you're going to sit there and be like, oh, I'm going to sit here and wait for you guys to make this successful, then walk away. Go work somewhere else. But if you're going to be there showing up for 8 hours a day, why don't you take a minute to contribute? To me, it's like it has to be both ways.
I think the last question was about this. What is the role of leaders? I think you already covered it. Can you give me one example of an organization you see or have worked at, like people might know who are doing a good job?
Yeah. My most, like the one I love the most is Spotify.
Spotify.
Yeah. So like Spotify came to like, let's say, organizational strategy fame quite a few years ago with their Agile Squad org. I don't know if you're familiar with it. But essentially, they decided that instead of having the usual departments, hierarchies, whatever, they were going to organize the entire company in squads, small teams that have full autonomy on what they're responsible for and don't have to like report to anybody. They just work independently in agile teams. And then they've kind of do scrums of scrums and then collaborate on bigger products. But they decided that they were going to try and have as much flexibility, agility, and autonomy for their employees as possible. So that's kind of, they became really famous for that. And a lot of companies tried to copy their model. But they're also creating incredibly flexible employee value propositions or employee experiences through more than just their structure and their hierarchy. For example, benefits. So we don't all get the same benefits in Spotify because you might be a parent with 2 kids and I might be like a 35-year-old single, loves to travel, wants to whatever. And so we might not need the same things. You know, like here, for example, in Dubai, a lot of companies give school fees as benefits. What if I don't have kids? Automatically, as an employee, I'm receiving less value than everybody else just because I don't have kids. So in Spotify, you can pick your benefits within a range, right? And now they've added the work from anywhere policy, which is, people like to work from the office and some people don't. And some people want to go explore the forest and some people are happy in the city. So we're going to let you work from anywhere.
And I think this is the difference between remote and flexible, right?
Yes, absolutely.
I remember you speaking about this. I think many companies, they think having work from home means remote or flexible. It's not the same, right?
Not at all. Yeah. I think that's the thing. Like, go back to like core definitions, you know. And why do Spotify do this, by the way? They do this because they say what drives their decision making is they are there to unlock creativity for the artists, but also for their employees. You see that omnichannel
human experience,
right? And so they're saying, like, if you are more creative at home, then do that. If you're more creative at the office, please come. If you, by getting this benefit, will be able to go and explore the world and then come back with new ideas, then do that. And so you see their driving reason isn't, oh, everybody else is doing it. Their driving reason is, how do you unlock creativity? And everything they do comes from there. So having a Northern Star, that's a business reason, by the way. It's not hippie. It's not, it's nice to unlock creativity. Spotify lives off of creativity. It's the blood that flows in the vein of their system. So they have to do everything they can to promote it.
And that's what brings in the money as well, end of the day.
There you go.
Yeah.
So that's the idea.
I think that's a nice way. I hope we had more time, but interesting discussion. But before we go, Marilyn, I understand you guys are having your annual conference.
Yes.
Which is, when is it happening?
So it's the Cosmic Conference. It's happening over 3.5 weeks from September 28th to October 21st. Wow. Why did we choose to do it over 3.5 weeks? Because we realized that the 1 or 2 day conference was a result of people having to travel to go to a conference. So they wanted to be in a hotel for 2 days and go home. But if you don't have to travel and you're seeing it online, then there is really no reason to condense it. Instead, we're going to be exploring the topic of how do you rethink your employee experience over 3.5 weeks, talking about everything from strategy to measurement to specific touch points like internal comms, onboarding, offboarding, training and upskilling, like endless topics, really.
I think if any of you listening or watching, you know, if you liked what you listened here, this is going to be like, this is like a sprint or like a short version. 3 weeks is going to be a marathon where we're going to cover
every day a new piece of content.
And trust me, I've personally consumed a lot of the content, and there is so much value even in the free content these guys put out. And
thanks.
you can learn and see. If you're an HR person, you're a business leader, whoever is it, if you're a mid-management person or a team leader, there is something for everybody.
Absolutely.
And what is something different? You guys, it's not just fully virtual, right? This time?
No, we're doing a combination of everything. We thought if we're going to experiment, let's go all the way. So we're doing in-person events, we're doing LinkedIn Lives, we're doing pre-recorded videos, we're doing long articles and short articles, so that you as a person, every day, you see how much time you have to spend with us. So whether you have 5 minutes or an hour on your way home, you can pick a piece of content that fits that, whether you are reading or listening, what you prefer. And you can come on the website if you registered to the conference and then find all of these pieces of content and kind of consume them on demand. So you don't have to even be available at the same time that we're going live or any of that. And really, that's the idea. We just want people to benefit from learning with us. It's a free conference, by the way. There's no fee attached to it. We just want to learn together as a community, and that's why we put it out. And we have some really incredible speakers from, industry, like leadership, academia, as always. I'm always a good student, so I bring in a few academics. And it's just going to be incredible. So if you do want to sign up, you can come to our website, cosmiccentaurs.com. You can find us on LinkedIn as well.
And we'll be leaving the links in all the videos, any videos that you see of this episode. In the comments and in the description, we will actually leave the links for people to actually register.
Even if you listen to this in 2 years and you want to come and consume the content, it'll still be there. So don't shy away.
There you go. So again, Marilyn, thanks a lot for coming onto the show. And I'm personally very excited to see in 2 years, in 3 years, what this moment, this is like a movement that's going to like build momentum and become big. And all the best. And hopefully, we'll see you during this conference.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Anybody who's listening, if you want to know more about what Marilyn does and what Cosmic Centaur does, definitely reach out to any of their team members on LinkedIn or any of the socials or emails, whatever you follow them. They're quite helpful. I'm sure you'll be more than happy to actually take them through.
Yeah. I mean, our metric for success is not our revenue. It's how many teams we've helped. That's what we measure. So come to us, even if all you need is one article, a piece of advice, a framework, we're happy to offer it.
Cool. All right, guys, thank you. And hopefully we'll catch you in the next episode. Until then, take care. Bye-bye. Thank you, Marilyn.
Thanks.